Hello, and welcome to World Water Week. Businesses play a pivotal role in ensuring a water sustainable future. Ensuring sustainable water practices throughout the value chain is not only good for people and planet, it's good for business too. Today I'm joined by three global business professionals who are serious about their water commitments and want to bring other businesses along with them. I'd like to please, audience, help me welcome George Schuler, Deputy Head of CEO Water Mandate. George brings nearly 30 years of experience working with global water sustainability efforts, and he's deeply committed to the CEO Water Mandate mission and collaborates with public, private, and nonprofit sectors on climate and water security. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Francesca O'Hanlon is the leads the water security strategy for Coca-Cola Euro-Pacific Partners, CCEP, the largest bottling partner of the Coca-Cola Company. Francesca has a background in water resources engineering, WASH, and water innovation. Welcome. And Lin Yi Liu, Head of Sustainability and ESG for Soderberg and Partners. You're a sustainability expert, and she sits on the board of SWESIF, Sweden's Forum for Sustainable Investments, and has previously worked with the UNDP, where she has supported companies integrate sustainability into their operations and increase their contributions to the SDGs. Very welcome. It's wonderful to have you all here with us. George, I'd like to start with you. Since 2007, CEO Water Mandate has been a platform for businesses to come together to strengthen water stewardship in their operations, but also to share good practices and catalyze action within the business community. So tell us, in that time, what have been the key lessons learned, and what changes have you seen driven within the water sector by the business community?
So, it kind of boils down to the adage of if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And I think what the business community and the NGO community has learned is that no one organization can solve the water problem. You might be able to get a handle on your own specific issues around your facility, but broadly speaking, your risk is kind of linked to others. And so that work towards collective impact through collaboration has been a growing wave within the business community around water stewardship.
Interesting. I really like what you're saying there in terms of that linked risk, that we need to, collectively think about it, but also the importance, as you've also said, collective impact, that if we do it together, we're going to see bigger changes. Francesca, as a large multinational with presence in several water basins around the world, how and why is Coca-Cola looking to strengthen sustainable water practices in its global supply chain? And what would be your advice to others looking to do the same?
Very good question. I think if you look across our value chain, we've got a really good handle on water efficiency in our factories. We understand it. We've been working towards it. We're investing in technology. But actually, we're starting to realize that the bulk of our water footprint, our overall water footprint, comes from growing our ingredients, from the sugars, from the fruits that we use in our products. And this is where we're focusing our future efforts to really, we have a target to replenish 100% of the water in our beverages. But what we're doing now is we're targeting that replenish strategy to make sure that we're supporting agricultural suppliers to reduce their water footprint. Because for us, this is the exciting bit. This is where we're really going to have environmental impact. I would say for any businesses in the beginning of their journey of understanding water footprint, just get a handle on the data. It's so huge. It's such a big amount of data to understand. Just really understand, where are you sourcing ingredients? What are those ingredients? What's their water footprint? And once you've got the handle on that data, then you can start to take action to really generate that environmental impact. And that's what we're all looking for.
I think that's absolutely fascinating. I mean, this idea that as a bottler, you would have thought, of course the biggest impact is going to be the water that's used in the actual bottling process and making the beverages, but it's so much bigger than that. And I think it's really fascinating to get your head around that you have to actually go back and work with those partners and with those farmers, move out of those factories and understand what's the global reach of what you're doing, but also as George was pointing to, what are those potentially associated risks. I mean, if those farmers fail, your business will also ultimately fail as well. So really fantastic to hear about that. Actually, I'm going to ask you to follow up a little bit there, Francesca. I'd love to hear, I don't know if you have a quick example, but maybe an example of where you're working with one of these farmers or what you've been able to support.
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually just kicked off a project, so in collaboration with the Coca-Cola company, we're the bottling partner in Western Europe and other regions, but we've kicked off a project in southern Spain where we source lemons and oranges. It's really the whole focus for us is regenerative agriculture and what's the contribution of water to that. So just reducing the amount of water that's used to grow crops. The bit that's really exciting for me is actually supporting farmers. You know, we don't want to mandate to farmers, you have to do this, you have to reduce your water footprint. I don't think that's the way to really make progress. What we're looking at is supporting farmers with technology. You know, we need the data, but also farmers really need the data to understand where their water is being used. And it's amazing across the world. I don't think we're quite there yet in the agricultural sector of really having really great visibility on how water is being used, where there's opportunity to reduce that water footprint. And what we want to do is we want to support them with that. We don't want to mandate. We want to say, this is the way we can use technology to find a solution to you know, in the future, grow lemons that don't have the water footprint that they do today. And that's where I see us going.
Very interesting. I really like that approach that you, like you say, you're not mandating it, but you're saying let's do it together. Because as we know, I mean, those farmers also have a much deeper grasp of what's going to be able to be usable for them, but you can bring that technology and you can bring that innovation. Fascinating to hear that. Thank you so much. Lin-Yi, you bring two very interesting perspectives to the panel, and I think also to the greater water and business discussion. First, Soderbergh and Partners is a smaller organization compared to multinationals like Coca-Cola. I think we're on different scales here. But you're also focused more on services rather than consumer goods. And I think oftentimes in the water sector, we are really focused on those consumer goods, you know, how much water is going into a product. I'm curious, what is the influence that you think that the service sector can have on global water stewardship? And how are you as a medium-sized enterprise taking on the call for strengthened water stewardship?
Thank you, Kanika, for those two questions. First of all, I just want to give a bit of a background because Soderbergh & Partners is, as you said, not widely known globally. So Soderbergh & Partners is operating in the financial space. We are one of the largest financial advisors in the Nordics, and we operate in 8 European countries. Our vision is to be proactive today for our clients to enjoy a safer and wealthier tomorrow. So we achieve this through investment advice and insurance brokerage to private individuals, institutions, and businesses. And sustainability is integral in our vision, but we want to focus on what actually matters, where we can make the most significant contribution. And so a few years ago, we commissioned an external environmental assessment to look at and identify where are the areas where our operations have the most significant impact. And the top ranked area was advisory service. And that is because we can support our clients to make more sustainable investments. So that is a great deal for us, and we have sustainability analysis integrated in our investment, integrated in our advisory, and so on. But we want to do even more, not just integrating sustainability, but also work more focused. And the way we work with water is actually through 2 targeted investment portfolios. One is offered to our wealth management clients. It's not surprisingly called the environmental portfolio, and that one is targeting the 6 environmental targets in the EU Green Taxonomy, with water being one of them. And the second one is actually a fund called Aktiv Påverkan. It's Swedish, and in English it means active engagement. And here, this is such a unique product. I'm so proud to present it to all of you. It's been active for a few years, but the uniqueness is that shareholders get the opportunity to vote on the SDGs they wish the fund to support.
Very cool.
Amazing, right? So it's taking democracy to another level and shareholder activism to another level. And this year, besides climate change, the top 2 results were SDG 6 and SDG 14. So it's clean water, sanitation, and life below water. And so our next step is to identify companies in the Nordics interested in collaborating with water experts to enhance their contribution to these goals. And this is a project fully funded by Söderberg & Partners, and our fund managers are actively engaged throughout the whole project so that they can ensure the progress in it. So back to your question, I think that service companies can definitely make a contribution in terms of driving water stewardship, both in terms of raising awareness, supporting sustainable practices, but also to support and guide investments, really.
Wow, I mean, that sounds so interesting. What I'm really hearing from you is this really important role of influence and nudging, right?
Yeah.
And not just, I think there's 2 sides to that nudging that you're alluding to there. One is, of course, investing in products and companies that are doing the right things, but also, as you say, influencing the individual to take the right choices, to want to be part. I love that term that you said, shareholder activism, and taking it to a new level. And I think it's also fascinating. SDG 6 and SDG 14 were the ones that people want to see more investment in. Really, really interesting. Thank you so much for that. Francesca, I'm going to come back to you. I'm really curious to hear, what Coca-Cola hopes to achieve when you engage in collective action. Why is this an interest for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's kind of the collective action is it's on the top of George's mind and the top of mine. I guess the reason we're such a fan of it is because we know that's actually what's going to have an environmental impact. So a watershed doesn't respect the boundaries of a factory. It doesn't know what the boundaries of a factory are. There's no point being a really clean fish in a dirty pond. I love that. I think, with any big sustainability strategy, what you want to do is have a good impact on the environment. With Coca-Cola, there's an obvious relationship between Coca-Cola and water. It's our main ingredient. I think we have an opportunity because we've been working in water for so long, because we've been really prioritizing it as part of our sustainability strategy. We have an opportunity to lead other businesses, perhaps the SMEs that are just beginning on their water journey. And I think that's a role that we, take great pride in. For the future, what we want to see is multiple stakeholders. I'm talking 10 to 20 to 30 stakeholders, all working, all with a tiny contribution to a big project. And what we want to see is a way to really, really measure that impact, measure the impact on the biodiversity, on the ecosystems, on the aquifer replenishment. That's the place we want to get to. We're not quite there yet, and I think it's come from companies having a lot of goodwill to work in water. But now we really need the organisations like the CEO Water Mandate to say, hey, let's all get together. We're going to facilitate a project for you, and we're really going to measure the outcomes of that. So 5-10 years down the line, we can say we've genuinely impacted wildlife populations with our programs. And that's, for me, that's the really exciting bit. That's where we're going to get to.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you also have seems like you have a very clear vision of where you need to be going, but it also seems like you're not going there alone. You're really bringing the communities along with you, which is a great way of segueing to my next question to you, George. We've heard now the great examples from Söderberg Partners and also from Coca-Cola in terms of their leadership and their ingenuity to addressing the challenges in the water sector. But we also know that there's a very important role for NGOs to play here. So my question to you is how are you, as CEO Water Mandate, bringing together and fostering that collaboration between partners like our business-minded partners and also NGOs to address these challenges?
So I think, many people see CEO Water Mandate as a platform to bring companies together to have discussions about sustainability or water stewardship. But it's also a place to bring in NGO partners as technical partners, as thought leaders, and through mechanisms like our 100 Basins Initiative, where it's really trying to put collective action on the ground in watersheds with those NGOs and with civil society organizations. the experiments and projects and things that they do together builds trust. And that trust kind of in the long term goes beyond goodwill and allows us to have impact in those basins because everybody knows each other. They've worked together. They've started to see things in an aligned vision. And so that collaboration is really started with those early transparent discussions about what are we trying to do here? What do we really care about? What is our strength that we bring to the table as an NGO or as a company interested in water stewardship?
So what I hear from you there is that importance of connection, but also familiarity. It's a lot easier to work together if we know who's at that table with us. Trust. Really important word there. Absolutely. I want to ask a question to all of you. You know, you've shared a lot today in terms, and it's clear that we all stand to gain, people, planet, business, if we work on this together and if we think about, you know, how these challenges affect us all. But there's still so much to be done, and there's still so many businesses that we need to get on board with us and to start changing their way that they're thinking, to start thinking more in the way that maybe you're thinking. So how can we bring water issues higher up on that strategic agenda of businesses across the variety of sectors that there are out there? Linyi, I'm going to start with you.
From an investor's perspective, I need to say make a business case out of water and present that to the CEO, the investors, the board of directors. But at the same time, also don't forget the grassroots movement and the private individuals, the private investors who are really engaged in these topics, and show them what businesses can do.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Francesca.
I think it's the responsibility of the big name companies that are obviously working in water. You know, we say your tech, apparel, food and beverage to lead the way. You know, it's very material for these businesses. I'm quite excited that we have investor lens here because, you know, I saw a stat the other day that was something like, why invest in water? It's less than 2% of the economy. And the response is, well, the other 98% of the economy is so dependent on that water. If the taps stop, the other 98% stops. And I think, you know, one of the conversations I've seen coming out of this week is there is just not that awareness of how dependent the entire economy is on water. And it's our role to really lead the pack on that, to demonstrate the big names that make sense that's working in water, just to get the water topic moved up to the agenda. So really what I'd like to see as a proper water geek is it's as important as climate change is in the sustainability agenda. That's where I want to get to.
I'm so happy that you touched on climate change at the end there, because I think that's very consistently the narrative that we're hearing now. That, you know, there's no business if we don't address the climate challenge. But it's the same for water and these big climate challenges that we're facing. They're really water challenges. It's not enough or it's too much. So I'm really happy that you pointed that out. But I also loved the illustration you gave there of that 2%. Is working with water, of our business sector, of our different of our economy is working with water directly, but the other 98% is relying on it. And I think it's a really nice illustration for us to take with us, that we have really important roles to play in terms of connecting with those other actors and also doing that advocacy of that they have to work with us. We have to work together. Yeah. George, please tell me, what do we need to be doing differently, and how can we get this higher on the strategic agenda?
So I think there's a theme here, and it's really those both at the grass tops and in the grassroots of having leadership. So what we've realized is that in the CEO Water Mandate, that CEOs are really critical, that working with sustainability and water teams within a company is really good and essential, but it's not enough. But having a CEO or C-level leadership can turn the entire ship around. And I would say that you get to that change but in many ways, through groups like CEO Water Mandate, through companies advocating from their ground up, from shareholders and investors kind of making it and raising that awareness. But it's the leaders of all types of organizations need to have it as a priority and higher on their radar screen for the organizations to move that direction in a very natural and committed way.
So I'm hearing a little bit about the need for greater kind of water literacy, maybe
Yeah.
at those top levels of engagement. Wonderful. It has been such a fascinating conversation. I'm certainly learned a lot. I hope our audience has as well. It's clear that we all have a lot to gain if we can work together on these issues, build that water literacy, bring towards that collaboration, and see the role that we all have to play here as shareholders, as individuals, but also as large multinational companies like Coke here. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing how we bring this forward in the future, and also the important role that we all have to play, the different sectors, whether it be, product sectors, but also service-based. Thank you so much. Thank you to our audience for joining us, and thank you to those online for joining us today. Have a great day. Super. It's super awkward.